welcome councillors. I'll declare this meeting open at 3:18. All are present, and we have Mr. Stevens here. Welcome, Mr. Stevens. We have some apologies from Manager of Governance and Manager of Finance. Declarations of interest. Have any been submitted, Mr. Chair?
I've received none.
No. So as councillors well aware, if there's any declarations of interest financial, please hand your paperwork in. Any declarations of interest closely associated persons and impartiality? No, please hand your paper if there is any. And declarations of proximity? No, thank you. No response to public question time. There is no public to ask us questions. No petitions, presentations, applications of leave. Item 7 for the next meeting. Any applications of leave? No. Announcements from myself? No, there are no announcements from myself. Confirmation of minutes, the Works and Services Committee meeting held on Thursday the 20th of March. Do I have a mover and a second? Thank you, Councillor Foss. A seconder. Thanks, Councillor Waite. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Confirmation of minutes, the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on Thursday the 20th of March. I'm a mover. Thank you, Councillor Strange, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Crooks. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. The ordinary meeting of Council held on Thursday the 20th of March 25. So I have a mover and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Bahoot, seconder. Thanks, Councillor Foss. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 10. Matters of decision. Manager of Works, 10.1.
Through the chair, before we go into that, could I just make a statement before we start, please? Before we proceed with the officer's report, I'd like to note that this agenda item is being discussed in an open session. Whilst the tender process for procurement of the multi-patcher was competitive with 2 submissions, this is a highly specialised piece of equipment with broadly understood industry pricing. The procurement has followed a transparent process, and given there are no significant commercially sensitive details being disclosed in this report, it is appropriate that the matter be considered in public. This is in line with the principles of transparency and community confidence into council decision making, and hence why it's open and not closed.
Thanks, Mr. Furr. It's item 10.1.1, purchase of the automated road patching unit. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. President. The purpose of the report is to seek Council's approval to award the tender for the purchase of the automated patching machine to Crossroads. There is a recommendation on page 9. I'm happy to take any questions to me or the CEO.
Councillors, any questions or queries, clarifications?
Chair, I'm happy to move the recommendation, but just a couple of questions, some of the detail, comparing the make of the truck. How is there similarities to what we hired, to what we're buying, to Corrigan's truck, all of those things?
Through the chair, the one we hired was a Volvo truck. Corrigan's is an Isuzu, the same as what we're looking at getting. They've had some good reports and no issues with it. I think the focus when we did the referee checks, they have had the Isuzu trucks, which is similar to what we're looking at getting, so there was no issues with any of the vehicles that are going to support the unit.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Strange. No, if not, we have a recommendation that we accept the recommendation of the tender valuation panels. Would someone like to move this? Thanks, Councillor Crooks. Do I have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Foss. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Thanks.
No. Just like that.
Item 10.2, Manager of Strategic Business Development. Welcome, Ms. Schilling, or Mel.
Thank you, Mr. President. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's endorsement of the deed of licence between the Shire of Bruce Rock and Win Television. It's proposed that the lease will go from the 1st of May 2025 and expire on the 30th of April 2030. There was some minor adjustments made to the lease. One of note that I'll bring to your attention was previously Win paid just under $4,000 per annum for electricity use. I've now negotiated that to be based on 90% of their consumption. And when I looked into it, we were actually paying $8,500 in electricity. So we were picking up quite a bit of that amount. So pleased to say that we've negotiated that they'll be now paying 90% of the usage.
Any further questions from councillors? Otherwise, we have a recommendation that we endorse the deed of licence. Would someone like to move the recommendation as written? Thank you, Councillor Strange. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Waite. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Item 10.3, Manager of Finance, Mr. Furr, speaking for our manager whose apology. 10.3.1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Schedule of accounts paid March 2025. The purpose of this report is for Council to note the payments as presented in the schedule of accounts for March 2025. I will take this report as read, unless there's any questions, noting that the various different areas of payment are identified in the table within the report, and happy to take any questions regarding any payments that are drawn to attention.
Any questions or queries? Otherwise, we have a recommendation that we note the report as presented. Thanks. Councillor Bahut, do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Foss. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. 10.3.2. Councillor Monthly Financial Reports, Mr. Furr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Monthly financial reports for February 2025. I would remind Council that we didn't present this report last month due to work that was being done in our financial reporting templates and systems. Usually this report will contain notations under financial implications. However, they are represented in March's financial report, so it is a straightforward report that's presented. In drawing attention into the report itself on page 2 of the attachment, I will draw attention to page 1, the overall surplus or deficit at the end of the financial year, and state that through the original budget amendment process, getting to a balanced budget, subsequent work that was undertaken last month identified still $40,000 of surplus funds, and that is why at the surplus or deficit at the end of the financial year, after all the workings that we did as the finance team, there is a figure of $40,000 and $1 in the amended budget figure, which is identified in March's report for budget amendment 2. It's not a negative figure, it's 40,000 of additional funds to put back into the budget, but I think it's important that when Council's looking at the front sheet of the report, the expectation would that they would see balanced budget at all times, 0 and 0 subsequently. Any other highlights I would probably discuss further in March's report. Happy to take any questions that Council may have.
Any questions, councillors? Otherwise, we have a recommendation. Move the monthly financial report for February 2025. Do I move it and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Waite. A seconder. Thanks, Councillor Hodgkiss. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Item 10.3.3, the March monthly financial reports. Mr. Furr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Monthly financial reports for March 2025. This report is presented to Council And within the financial implications, I just would like to cover off on a couple of points for note. Having there been already a subsequent annual budget review undertaken in January and discussed in February, we have done more work on this, as I mentioned before, and we have identified in partnership with our financial consultant some other areas within the budget that needed to be addressed, some other amendments. Not because the budget review process wasn't comprehensive in the first instance, but actually the work that we're doing in preparing ourselves for budget 25-26. And also, if you recall, the variant figure that we had of over $211,000 from a adopted budget to annual financial presentation, we've introduced reporting mechanisms and treatments that are far more effective in actually giving us the visibility of carry forward figures. Through this process, we identified, as you would see in the budget attachment, some errors that were in the budget, some quite significant financial errors within the budget which we had to amend. But at the same time, I'm very keen to put across the council as well in identifying some overstating of revenue or duplication. We also found opportunities to mitigate that through high expenditure budgets in, for example, the road maintenance, which is reflected in the attachment, overall giving us still a positive financial outlook, whereby the procurement of the multi-patch earnings deposit is included, as well as incorporating auction items and the sale of plant, such as the patching truck, still enables us to transfer in this budget $190,000 into our plant reserve, which is a good outcome. And also that we have a very clean budget template and reporting tool to use, where it's optimising its effectiveness. And I look forward to presenting that to council over the coming months. Also points to note, we are in surplus, predominantly due to significant negative variance and positive variance. We are budgeted to be about $1.5 million in surplus, but if council considers, when you look at the capital projects and the revenue expectations and the expenditure that hasn't occurred, playground for example being one, it does quite easily identify that that we're not going to be on track with that budget because it's overstated revenue and understated expenditure. That said, our current financial position is very close to where we were last year as well. So no significant concerns there at all. Our rates that have been received are currently at 94.6%. We're still about $100,000 to collect, and there remains and there will remain deferments, pensioner rates and deferments of around about $15,000 that sit within that amount as well. Our 90-day debtors, 17 amounts, one of which is Main Roads WA, an outstanding amount for $82,000. We have invoiced them, and they are just requiring some additional information. That work has now been done. And we would expect to be receiving that very, very shortly. That only leaves $9,000 of outstanding 90-day debt being managed effectively and followed up, and that $9,000 is attributed to 16 debtors. 75 vehicle inspections generated nearly $16,000 worth of revenue. The net amount that goes back into the finances is just under $10,000. That net effect takes into account the remuneration for the vehicle inspector, hence why there's a difference between the 15,700 and the 9,998. Other than that, I'm happy to take questions on the financial report. Just reminding council that there's two recommendations. One, to note the reports as presented, and which is a simple majority, and also the second part of this report requires an absolute majority, as the recommendations to approve the amendments which are represented in the attachments below.
Councillors, any questions, comments about the report or amendments? specifically?
Chair, I'm happy to move the first. I do have a question
Yep.
in that. And with regards to by nature and our private works, our fees and charges of 803,000 budgeted, and actual to the end of March, 905 we received.
I'm just looking at the page, Councillor.
Page 51 by mine.
Yep. Yes, report by nature.
And I had asked the CEO about our fees and charges. It's something we're obviously looking at through our budget process, but there's a significant increase in that in income. In past, it has been through private works, extra private works that's brought in, but that's significant. I'm wondering, leading up to the budget process, that we do have a breakdown of that amount right through, so we can...
Through the Chair, thank you for that question, Councillor. That is a significant amount. I would draw attention to that a significant amount of that is actually the fee that's associated with rubbish charges as well. But certainly it is a topical conversation regarding our fees and charges, and would certainly be looking to provide a breakdown of what those fees and charges are going forward. But the 800,000, when I responded to you, Councillor, I hadn't considered the rubbish charges that are a fee and therefore incorporated into that. And the good thing about the reporting by programme and by nature is that you see those fees and charges sitting separately. So providing a breakdown is easy to do, and I think once we take away the rubbish charge from that particular figure, we can actually look at where we're making revenue across the various different programmes.
Yeah, through the Chair again. That said, I would have thought our rubbish charge was set, so that's in our original budget. So the extra income that we have received.
So we were budgeted income of 800,000.
Yeah.
We're now at 900,000. I will take that question on notice, Councillor, and I will come back to you with regards to what constitutes that figure.
Yeah, thank you. And really, it was just a comment that in the past it has been through private works.
Yeah.
And I do remember Mr. Stevens saying over a period of a couple of months that there has been quite an increase in private works.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? So a couple of just comments. It's nice to see, obviously, the service providing the 75 vehicle inspections. So it's worked out very well. That's our net. And I will congratulate Mr. Darby, our Manager of Finance, and his team for the work they put into the amendments. It's a power of work and a true reflection now where we're at. Anyway, we had a recommendation. Councillor Strange has moved that we accept the monthly financial reports for March 25. Do I have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Cook. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Item 10.4, regulatory services. Mr. Furr, I think you're reporting.
Thank you, Mr. President. Report of review of the local planning framework. I remind Council at last month at information session we discussed the report of review that had been undertaken by the Department of Lands and Heritage, whereby the recommendations of that came were regarding a review of our local scheme, our local strategy and our town planning scheme. Therefore, this agenda item has been drawn up by our external consultant, which will subsequently be forwarded on to and will generate from this, if subsequently endorsed by Council, because we are asking for Council to accept the recommendations in the report of review, and that is to amend our scheme. That will result in a letter subsequently going up to the WAPC, Western Australian Planning Commission, whereby we will request for an amendment, to commence an amendment and review, and we will do that. I think it's timely to mention to Council that at this time as well, we are getting inquiries which from our residents regarding subdivisions and rezoning requests, and so any requests for that anyway would result in the amendment of our local planning scheme anyway. So it's quite timely that these requests are coming in at the same time as potentially our desire to amend our scheme subject to council approval. So I take the report as read, and subsequent to council decision, we'll forward on accordingly to our external consultant to take it to the next step if approved.
Right, councillors, do we have any questions or clarifications from Mr. Furr? Otherwise, we do have a recommendation that we receive the report and that we pass on the Planning Commission as written. Someone like to move that motion? Thank you, Councillor Waite. Do I have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Furr.
Through the chair, just
Yeah.
the previous item, we missed the second.
Councillor Furr.
Recommendation. The absolute majority on the financial report, 2-2.
Thanks.
Yes.
All right, we'll finish off the other one first. All right, so we do have okay, local planning frameworks, as said, we have moved a seconder, so all those in favour? Thank you, it's unanimous.
Just needed a second for that one, sorry.
It's Councillor Boot, I think. Yeah.
Did you submit that?
Councillor White. So if we go back to,
Financial report, okay. Part 2, yeah.
so we go back to item 10.3.3, the financial report, March 2025. We do have a second part of that, which is that we approve the amendments as presented in that attachment 2, and that results in the amendments that the Shire budget is now balanced at 0. Would someone like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Floss, the seconder. Thanks, Councillor Strange. All those in favour? Thank you, it's unanimous. Item 10.5, there's no manager of governments today. Item 10.6, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Furr. 10.6.1, Rotary Youth Programme.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rotary Youth Programme of Enrichment, Ripen 2025 sponsorship request. The purpose of this report is to ask Council to consider a request from the Rotary E-Club of Western Australia for the Shire of Bruce Rock to sponsor 2 places for the Ripen 2025 camp being held from the 2nd to the 4th of May in Serpentine this year. This is an event that for the last, the report speaks for itself in that this is something that the Shire has supported for a number of years, 7 I believe, and the request is that continues. The cost of $640 accounts for 2 spaces being sponsored by the Shire, and I'm happy to take any questions associated with this.
Any questions or comments, councillors?
Probably more a comment that the program has been running for quite some time. It's highly subsidised by the Rotary E-Club, highly subsidised. This is very much hits the mark on our community or strategic community plan, developing leadership, youth leadership. The only other part I would put to it, if I could, would be to invite the participants to come to a council meeting, whether it be before or after afternoon tea, to give a presentation on the program itself. That did happen some years ago, but has dropped off. And I think the other part of this is the students that are selected have to be involved with the eSwim as well, the Rotary eSwim. If they didn't participate in that, they don't qualify for this.
And whether it's a swimmer or a volunteer or whatever, those are there.
That's right. But I'm happy to move.
So
that
happy
one.
with those amendments on the recommendation?
With, if I just extend it, that they do, the 2 participants do give a presentation, a short presentation to council once they've completed the program.
So, through the chair, would you like to amend the resolution?
Amend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, recommend.
So, And then, so secondly, that with respect, so there's the first one, and then the second point, we would identify that council requests that recipients of this sponsorship attend a council meeting,
Yeah.
so that they can be awarded
Post
post the event.
post the course to give a
And to give a
presentation
presentation
on the course,
on the course.
a short presentation,
Yeah.
so it doesn't.
The reason for the change to that this resolution, or the addition to this resolution, is because this is something that used to happen, and it's something that we wish to reintroduce.
And the third
Chair, I'm
one-
not sure whether that needs to be all
No,
in there,
no,
but it was just more a comment, that last
Yeah.
part.
And then the other thing
Yeah.
was about being bold in the day.
Yeah, through Chair, we put it in as part of the resolution because it then
Okay.
it's an action that sits as a resolution.
All right.
Alright, so we have a recommendation. Will someone like to second that, or not? Thanks, Councillor Foss. Anybody want an alternate resolution? Are we happy with that one? Otherwise, we can have to put this to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, it's unanimous. Item 10.6.2, the conduct of the 2025 local government election. Mr. Thurr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Conduct of 2025 local government election. This report requests, the purpose of the report is to seek approval of council to conduct the 2025 local government election under the Local Government Act 1995, section 4.11, as a postal election for 4 councillors for the Shire of Bruce Rock. The Western Australian Electoral Commission has provided a cost estimate of $13,146 to conduct this election on the 18th of October 2025. Council is also requested to declare the Electoral Commissioner responsible for the election and approve the postal election method. So the report outlines the requirements there, 4 vacancies that will be up. The letter that we received is actually a little less than what was in previously in 2023, $15,000. This one is just over $13,000. But I think the actual budgeted amount for the process, similarly, we would budget for around about $19,000-$20,000 for the election itself. The returning officer traditionally on the last couple of occasions has been the manager of the CRC, and that's appointed by the WAEC. I'm happy to take any questions from council regarding this report.
Any questions, comments?
Chair, I had one question. We still have to have a polling place on the Saturday by law?
Through the
Do
chair,
we? Yes.
Yes, and in the past I think it was the facility on Dunstall Street or the Shire Hall, and as it stands at the moment, it's not identified actually within the letter where that is. But we, with the flow diagram, we will engage WAC regarding that particular location, and happy to come back with council to confirm where that will be.
Yeah, Chair, just really the comment. I think most candidates they need to have it. If we have to have it by law, we have to have it by law, but very few votes are taken on the day, and there's Shire staff involved and so on. But the process is set.
Right. Look forward to council standing at the front of the hall of the CRC. Anyway, we have a recommendation. So if there's no questions or comments, there's a recommendation as written that we accept the quotation. Would someone like to move that recommendation as written? Thank you, Councillor Verhoeven. Do I have a second that? Thanks, Councillor Crooks. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Item 11, new business of urgent nature. Item 11.1, Mr. Thurr, rubbish waste collection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to make a statement prior in relation to this item. I'd also like to confirm that the meeting remains open to the public. While there was only one tender submission received for the general waste collection service, the pricing structure provided is a standardised fee structure and based on known service volumes. There is no confidential or proprietary information being disclosed, and the matter can therefore be appropriately and transparently considered in open session, and the attachment is provided confidentially. Councillors, the tender process was undertaken in accordance with regulation, closing on the 11th of April. Subsequently, in the short few days, an evaluation, and this item has been prepared. We received of 7 different providers. As you can see within the report, 7 providers were contacted. After the 14-day mandatory period, we received only 1 submission. Avon Waste, who operate out of York, WA. That contract, whilst we did not necessarily have to, through the evaluation process, if that tender had not been acceptable or appropriate or conform, meeting the requirements of our scoping, we would potentially go back out to tender. But I have to say that through the evaluation process, it was a tender that met all requirements. Some context for Avon Waste, they provide services to 39 other councils on a weekly basis, around about 56,000 collections per week, an experienced provider. And if you look through the regional map, Avon Waste pretty much provides services to nearly all services, local governments within the wheat belt. So the recommendation, the refereeing part of the process was discussions with the CEO, Kelleberrin, Dendaragan and Shire of Irwin, that all had high satisfaction with the contractor who has tendered. And I think it's important to note the financial implications of this. There is an increased cost in comparison to the incumbent contractor. Our calculations, based on the fact that there wasn't an annual figure fixed price, it was based on a fee schedule that was estimating the number of collections, which we believe were consistent with what's currently being undertaken. And so there was a difference of about $4,000 there. And so based on that, the recommendation to Council is that they consider Avon Waste's submission, and through evaluation we perceive them to be an appropriate recommendation to Council to award the contract.
Any questions or comments, Councillor? And I will say to Ms. Fair and your staff, well done for relatively disruption to our services with the sudden cessation of our previous contractor. But and $4,000 is not a bad outcome in the difference. But we do have a recommendation. Someone's happy to move that recommendation as written, that we accept the submission. Thank you, Councillor Crooks. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Waite. All those in favour? Thank you, it's unanimous. Item 12, no confidential items. Item 13, close the meeting. I'd like to close the meeting at 3:52. Thank you, councillors.